Hey everyone, greetings. It's our second webinar. I am going to give everyone a minute to hop on. Just want to make sure that everything is on properly while we wait. Okay. All right, I'm going to get started while everybody else kind of filters in. So welcome to our second webinar. I am Tara Davis, creator of the Relationship Playbook for Marriage.com. This is our second webinar in a series of finding out more about ourselves, about our relationship with ourselves, about our relationship with others. So today's focus is learning to love Y.O.U. Actually, learning to love M-E, right? We're learning to love ourselves. So today is all about learning to love ourselves. Do we really love ourselves? Do we kind of? Do we know what that feels like? Maybe we've never really tapped in. Maybe we think we do, but something's missing. So real quick, before we get started, let's do a little bit of housekeeping here. And so if you want to chime in and leave a message, there is a little hand on the side of your screen on the chat box. So if you want to raise your hand to chat, to type something in, if I need to repeat something or go a little bit slower, please let me know. And please let me know any questions you have, anything that needs to be repeated or explained further, like more in depth. Please let me know, because that makes the interaction so much easier for everyone else, because if you have a question, probably someone else has the same question too. If I'm not being clear enough on something, then probably the rest of the people participating aren't understanding as well. Okay, oh yes, and so when you do respond, I'm probably just going to use your first name unless you say otherwise, because sometimes we have a little bit of participation, sometimes we have a lot, and so I want to make sure that I am answering the question for you and that you know I am answering your question. So unless you state otherwise, I will just use your first name alone, and it doesn't show up to anyone else other than your first name when you put it in. So if you want sort of an anonymity, it's just your first name, like Tara or Bill. So if you don't want me to use your first name, just let me know, and that's totally fine. All right, let's get started. So yes, I'm Tara Davis, and let me give you just a little bit of background about myself. My love and devotion in the world is communication and intimacy. I am a communication and intimacy coach. I am a relationship coach. I help human beings, by and large women, some men do filter through my path. I help human beings who are exhausted, overwhelmed, and put out of life by life itself, right? We all have these capacities to show up in life. It's when we get exhausted and overwhelmed by our career, by our family, by our children, by all of the things that we've signed up to do, by our jobs, we have nothing left for us and we're exhausted. We have nothing left for us. We have nothing left for our partner. And so I am here to help you create that space where you feel alive, where you feel loved, where you don't feel exhausted, to help you create that space where you get to communicate with your partner and be heard, not shamed. So that is my joy and my work in the world, is to help you find those places to better yourself. Okay, after many incredible ups and downs with my partner, I learned that it was up to me to create the relationship that I wanted. I used to finger point. I used to blame. I used to tell my husband that it was all about him and that everything wrong in our marriage was him. When in fact, through my own journey and through my own coaching and therapy, I realized I was the one who was responsible for showing up for me. Sorry, guys, I have like a tickle on my ear. I was the one showing up for me. And if I wanted to change the relationship, it was up to me. That was mind-blowing. I always thought it was about him. I mean, don't we all? Don't we all think, well, gosh, if that other person changes, oh, I can so change my life. My life will be so much better if you would just blank. And I realized that as we both bring our stuff to the table, I was no longer in a space to continually finger point and say, it's all up to you. I realized it was up to me to create the fantastic, joyful, loving life that I wanted. Now, I am somebody who wants everything right now. I think I lived in an alternate universe at some point where we just thought our thoughts and they became our reality. In this life, we can do it. We have to be at such a high vibration to do that. I have realized that there's also part of my journey is being in the process of the journey. When I am allowing every day to just be in the process without forcing, without wishing I was someplace else, without wishing I was experiencing someplace else, if I can just be here right now, I think that's the title of a book, Be Here Now, Ram Dass. If I can just be here now, then everything else will take care of itself. If I can allow myself to be uncomfortable in the space rather than checking out. Now, I'm not saying that checking out sometimes isn't beneficial. I'm saying that by and large, if I can feel that uncomfortable space, actually that's where the growth comes from. So in my journey with my partner, with my husband of almost 25 years here in a couple months, I have learned that the biggest thing is that to be super happy in my relationship and in myself, it's me that I have to take care of. I have to put me first. I have to think of me first. I just have to show up for me, whether that means, and when that means speaking my truth of, no, this doesn't work for me anymore. That is showing up for me. Or yes, this is what works for me. I'm going to do this. I know you guys want to do that, but it doesn't even interest me. I'm going to do this because this is what serves me best. That's when I really also made major shifts and realized that once I started showing up for me, interestingly enough, my life got better. And everyone else around me started shifting and using that example of making themselves first and showing up for themselves. So we have no idea what the ripple effect will have on others around us when we start putting ourselves first. And actually, it's not even up to us to see that others are changing or make sure like, oh, well, if I change, everybody else is going to change. It comes from that place of deep self-love, of putting myself first. Now, deep self-love and putting myself first does not, I want to really be really clear on this, does not come from a place of bitterness or anger or resentment or shoving and pushing to get to the front of the line. That's absolutely not putting ourselves first. It's actually coming from a place of victimhood where we think we can't get what we want or we don't deserve what we want, that we aren't good enough for what we want. Of course, I would love to dive in deeper, but that's not the topic this time of those 4 core beliefs. If that really resonates you might have a belief of not being good enough or not being smart enough or lovable. Check out the last webinar that I did last week, all about those 4 core beliefs and how they show up in our life. So coming from a place of genuine self-love can take time. Some of us grew up not even knowing that we were important in our life. Maybe we thought we were here for everyone else. Maybe we were one of 10, 12 children who were born out of necessity to work. Like, we need more kids on the farm. We need more people to work in our business. We need to have more children. Maybe that was the way that we were born. Maybe we were accidents, right? Maybe our parents were older and pop, here we came. And we have always been, maybe even jokingly said, I was an accident, I wasn't planned. Maybe we weren't wanted. And so when we start life from the place of this, even though someone potentially says it lightheartedly, that we weren't wanted or that we weren't planned, it sits in that subconscious, and we start to process it from a place of, maybe I'm not lovable. Or we process it from the place of I'm not lovable and go to the extreme of trying to make sure that we are lovable and showing everyone else how to love us and aren't we great, so that we can get this external feeling of self-love versus this internal feeling of self-love. So what we're going to talk about today is getting that internal piece of self-love, of really checking in to see, how much do I love myself? Have I been pretending the whole time? Is it a 50-50 agreement? Like, yeah, I kind of love myself sometimes. Sometimes I just let it go because it's easier to allow other people to walk over me. It's easier to not speak up for myself. Whenever we're not standing in our truth and we're just letting others, whenever we're being a carpet, and I know we can all relate to this, whenever we're just being walked over, or we're just thinking in our mind or saying out loud that, yeah, it's just easier if I keep my mouth shut. That is not loving ourselves like we want to be loved. We all have this core desire, and it's a good thing to be loved for everything that we are. Every good, bad, and indifferent piece of us is absolutely lovable, and we want to be seen for all those pieces that we are. What we do is tend to hide them and push them down so that no one else can see them, including ourselves, and we don't ever let them see the light of day. Then when we think other people love us, we always have this thing going on in the back of our mind. Again, it may be conscious and it may be a subconscious thing that, well, they love most of me and I love most of me, but they really haven't seen this part of me. And if they could see me, they may not like me or they may not love me. And so what we are here to do is to bring those pieces up so that, first of all, we can love them. That we can love all those pieces of ourself and about ourself that we think are completely unlovable. And the reason that we think they're unlovable is because we have been taught that they're unlovable. Okay, let's get into belief systems real quick before we talk about everyone else's beliefs. So, and this is something that I usually tap on because a lot of us completely know about what a belief system is in relation to how we've been raised and how we think about ourselves. Some of us know all of that. So if you know it, take a breather for a sec. And if you don't know it, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of belief systems. So a belief system is, there's two things to a belief system. There's a factual and a belief. So factual, fact, we have proven 2 + 2 = 4. 1 + 1 = 2. Across the board, we have proven that that is factual in all context. So that is a fact. It's not a belief. Like, I don't believe it, I know it. So it's factual. A belief system can be your political views, your religious views, your views about a certain society or a certain culture, your beliefs about women and your beliefs about men, your beliefs about females at a certain age, your beliefs about males of a certain age. You know, all of the, oh gosh, all men are blank. All women are just blank. Those are belief systems. Or you can think about politics in that way. You know, anybody who's a Democrat or anybody who's a Republican, and so those are belief systems that we have ingrained in us, and we believe they are serving us, that they are the best thing for us, until we start to look at why we believe these things and where these beliefs came from. Like, why do I believe that I am Republican? Why do I believe that I'm an independent? Well, usually it's because that's how we grew up, right? We grew up in a family of Democrats, Republicans, independents, whatever, liberals, whatever we grew up in, by and large becomes our belief system until something shakes the boat and we realize that this just is not serving me anymore. I don't think I believe this stuff. And then we shift it and we change it. And so those belief systems come from our caregivers, our parents, our society, our culture, our teachers, our coaches, our friends, our parents' friends. Like, as children from ages 1 through 7, we take on our belief systems. And after age 7, they're pretty much set. They are set and ingrained within us by observing, by listening, and by watching everything around us. We form this bubble that we call our life, and that is how we perceive the world. You know, there's some people that are just continuously happy, right? They perceive the world on such a positive vibe. Sometimes we wonder, how are they so positive all the time? They have chosen to see the world in that way. And I totally know what you're hearing. Oh my God, that Pollyanna, she's always positive. Here's the thing. When we aren't positive, and this is neither good nor bad, when we are continuously seeing the world through our filter of negative beliefs, of pessimistic thought forms, we choose to allow those thought forms to be there. We have not chosen to shift them. So potentially we grew up in such a place that was negative, pessimistic, maybe we were neglected, maybe we were abused. That formed our belief system and our belief around society. We might have been taught that we weren't good enough to be here. Like, maybe we kept hearing that message. Again, it could have been joking or not joking. Someone may have continuously called us names when we were growing up. And to have that, then we start to believe that thought form of, I'm not good enough. I don't even know how to love me. Like, I'm not even lovable because of all these messages that we have taken in growing up. So when I say learn to love yourself, it's actually not a one-stop shop. It actually takes some work. We really get to get in there and decide, why is it that I let everyone walk over me? Why is it that I'm so bitter? Why is it that I'm so cynical or sarcastic? Or why do I love to point out everyone else's faults? Why do I make fun of people? These come from a lack of love of self. Like, to really love us, we get to understand all of this stuff from when we were born, where we came from, who everyone else around us was, and how these thought forms filtered in. Okay, when you registered for this seminar, for this webinar, I sent you a couple of questions. First, how honest, how willing are you to be honest with yourself? And this is something that I have learned on my journey today. And we only have a couple people participating. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to chat in, to chime in and ask me questions. How willing are you to be honest with yourself? And that in itself seems like such an easy, simple question. Well, I'm completely honest with myself. I don't want to do it. I'm completely honest with myself. I want that. Here's the thing. There comes a point when we have no idea what our honest answer even is, because we have been operating from a place, of everyone else's thought forms and opinions, that we have shoved our honesty and thought forms so far down into the bottom of our feet that we have no idea what our honest answers and opinions might be. We have so brainwashed ourselves with what everyone else expects us to say and do and be and feel that we often are clueless on our own self-honesty. And that takes work. That takes work to figure out where that piece starts, where that honest piece is. Oftentimes it takes work, like a couple of hours and sessions of work to dig through and find out, who am I? I don't even want to talk about loving myself yet, because I don't even know who I am. And I don't even know if this pertains to me. I don't even know how to feel, because I've been feeling the way everyone else has taught me to feel, or that I have learned how to feel. Okay, coming back to that one. How much do you know yourself? That was my second question. This also you can just put everything that I said into this one. The honesty piece is exactly the same as how much do you know yourself? How much do you know about yourself, or are you the projection of everyone else around you from the time you were born until now? Are you the projection of everyone else's belief systems, of everyone else's thoughts? Are you a projection of what you think you're supposed to be, of how you think you're supposed to act? Or is there a real you down there somewhere that's waiting to come up? A lot of times we get brainwashed by codependency, and here's what I mean about that. We start learning as children and throughout our entire lives, especially when we're children, that a specific action or reaction garners a specific result. So when we are raised by people who have a particular belief system, who are codependent, who are angry, who have all sorts of issues mentally, emotionally, we learn to behave a particular type of way to avoid anger and to make that other person feel good. And so as a child, we start learning these behaviors. They're completely learned behaviors that allow us to avoid anger, yelling, rage, any of those emotions that we would particularly get from a parent or guardian. We condition ourselves how to survive in this place so that we aren't privy, hopefully, to all of that stuff. We learn how to relate to a specific person or society, and then this is the person that we become. We become this person who relates to everyone else how we think this person wants us to be so we can be liked, so that we can be loved. We essentially start brainwashing ourselves into being someone who we aren't. Because then what we have learned on an unconscious level is that the me that I was born as probably isn't good enough to be loved because I have to be someone else. That is when this disconnect from ourself happens. We become disconnected from the human being that we were born to be, because all of these other factors have come in. So let's say we had this crazy, tumultuous childhood. We married into a crazy, tumultuous marriage. We continued, and by the way, we attract that relationship that mirrors what we've learned to be. Again, this is not bad or good. This is just what we do as human beings to survive. We know no other way of survival other than the way that we conditioned ourselves and everyone else around us conditioned ourselves to be. Then we put ourselves in the same relationship until we decide and or maybe realize that this is not working anymore. I really want to shift this. Then we get to dive in really deep and find out who this person is. Who am I really, so that I can really love myself? I don't even know who I am, so I don't know how to love me. And when I show up a particular way that I think is me, other people might judge me. Other people might call me crazy, wacky, weird, and that feels bad. So for me, it's easier to just stay neutral, remain normal, right? As a society, growing up, I know, remember when we were teenagers and we were in middle school and high school, all we wanted to be was normal, like everyone else. Like we all wanted to have the same hair. We wanted to be the same fashion club. Maybe there were those of us who were outside of the box, and yay for those people. I fell in the part that I just wanted to be loved. So I wanted to be like everyone else. I wanted to have what everyone else had. I wanted to wear the styles that everyone else was wearing. I wanted to talk that lingo. Like I wanted to hang out where all the people hung out that were normal. I actually already knew I wasn't normal. Like this wasn't my tribe. I didn't really vibe with it. But all I knew was that I wanted that love. And I, at the time, thought that other people's love, that external love would make me feel good internally. And it did. It was a quick fix. Once I became an adult and started realizing that this is not working anymore, and I continually suppressed myself to appease others around me, I realized that I was about to explode. Didn't know why, didn't know what was coming up. I just realized that I can no longer follow this normal path because I'm not normal. By and large, 99% of us are not normal. We're just kind of following the elevator belt until we hop off and say, enough. Like, I really want to dig deeper and find this out. Okay. Learning more and talking more about ourself. Where in your life did your belief systems stem from? So you can pause this, you can, just pause it and take a moment to really get clear. Where did my belief systems start? Who were the biggest influences in my life growing up? Was that my mom and dad? Were those my siblings? Did they have the biggest impact on me? Did my friends have the biggest impact? And by and large, from 1 to 7, the biggest impact is your caregiver, whether that be your parents, your grandparents, whomever it was that raised you. They had the biggest influence. And then their friends that were maybe continuously at your house also had the biggest influence on you? So I invite you just to write these things down and see who those people are. And then take a minute to reflect on those people, of their belief systems. Like, start really making some notes. This is how we dive in and see, am I the person I know that I'm supposed to be? Am I the person that I want to be? We find out who we are by, first of all, finding out who we're not, then finding out who it is that we really want to align with and we want to be. That person is the person that's waiting to be loved, to waiting to be seen. Okay, so once you've got the list of those people who greatly influenced your life, start writing down their belief systems, their religious beliefs, their political beliefs, their beliefs about men, about women, about life in general. Write these down for yourself and then start reviewing that. Are these true for me? Do any of these stick with me? Do I believe these things too? Or do I have my own beliefs about X, Y, and Z that they believe? And then in checking in with these beliefs that you have created, are these true for me? Do they need to be shifted a little bit? Do they need to be taken out completely and replaced with something else? Or are they absolutely true? Checking in with that belief system, all of them, and you can dive as deep as you want to in this one. Okay. No one is participating yet, which actually, this is going to go way faster than I thought. Okay, which is fine. When you watch this on repeat, you can pause it, you can really dive into yourself. Okay, so we've listed all the influencers in our life. Okay, forgot about this one. When you're starting to write down all the different ways that these people influenced you, were they loving? Did they withhold their love? Were they super positive? Were they super negative? Were they completely available to you? Were they unavailable? And when I say available and unavailable, I'm also meaning physically, in the physical space. Were they there with you? Maybe they were there, but they were emotionally unavailable. Maybe they weren't there, period. You know, maybe one of your parents or caregivers worked continuously and they were physically not there. What belief did you form about that? Maybe your parent was there or your caregiver was there, but was continuously mad. Like, really start to form this ball that created you. How did you feel about yourself growing up? Allow yourself to feel these feelings because they may be completely uncomfortable for you. I really invite you to feel into how you felt about yourself growing up. Did you feel valued? Did you feel loved? Did you feel cherished? Did you just feel adorable as a child? Or were the opposites true? Did you feel unloved? Did you feel pushed aside? Did you feel like you were a third wheel? Did you feel like you were a mistake? What were your feelings about yourself growing up? And this will really give you insight into self-love and how you felt about yourself. When did you realize that you had to start acting a certain way? And this is one that might take you some time. You can pause this. This will be available for the next 5 to 6 days. You can pause this and redo this work as many times as you want. What were the results that you got when you acted a certain way. Like we have just talked about, were those results good? Were they bad? What were they? When you acted a certain way, what were the results that you received? And how did that influence your continued behavior? Now, after you've done all this work, I invite you to get, once again, super honest with yourself. How am I showing up to love me? What is the physical proof that I love me? And we're not talking about, spa days or treating yourself to something, because that's great. It really is a necessary part. Deep self-love means speaking up for myself, voicing my opinion from a place of love and self-care, speaking up when I need to say no, not allowing others to walk all over me. I am not a carpet. Let's rephrase that. Speaking up for you without worrying how everyone else is going to react. If you are really in alignment and in your truth and come from that place of speaking, no, this is really up for me, or this is really my truth, it doesn't matter how everyone else reacts. That is their business. Your business is to take care of you. That is full self-love. What is your current belief on speaking up for yourself? This is really an eye-opener for most of us. When I speak up, blank. And maybe we don't even know how to speak up right now. Maybe we need to go back and learn that piece. Join me, if that's where you need to start, and any of this, join me for our first retreat. And you can find all the information at my website, the relationship playbook for marriage.com/me first. We are going to dive in deep to everything that we've just talked about and more at my retreat. Okay, last thing. What is your true belief about yourself right now? And again, this might be an evolved process, like everything else that we've talked about today. It might evolve, and it just might continue over the next couple of months, maybe even over the next year, as you dive in deep with yourself. What are my beliefs about myself? And I don't want to even talk about the superficial, on the surface beliefs. I want to talk about the deep down beliefs. And there's some diving to do to be really, really honest with ourselves about what that belief is about ourselves. And if it's not the belief that we want, shift it. I would love to have you at my retreat. It is March 28th through 31st in the mountains in Colorado at this amazing, incredible log cabin. This one is for women only. Again, you can find all the information at my website, the relationship playbook for marriage.com/me first, or just at my website, there is a drop down with events, I believe it's the events page, that has the retreat on there. Thank you for joining me today. I would love to have your feedback, your comments on anything that we have talked about today. If this is completely overwhelming for you, let's have a chat. Sign up for one of my individual programs. You can find those under individual on my website as well, underneath the programs. I have a 6-week individual course that dives in deep. And it's as deep as you want to go, although I will definitely be pushing you to go deeper. If this sounds fun to you, or maybe not as fun, but you know it's the work that you're ready to do in the world, let's have a chat. Let's talk for 30 minutes and decide if we are a fit for each other and if this work is something that you're ready to embark on. Okay, so last time, the relationship playbook for marriage.com, And you can find all of this information under the events and, no, under the programs tab. There we go. Okay, I will see you next week. We've got one more free webinar. I look forward to seeing you next week, and I completely forgot the time. It is, I'll post it. Not in my radar right now. I will see you next week.